All right, mate. Let's see how good looking we are, all right?
Let's do it.
Boom! Squeeze the neck, we're back. Today we are, you can't see the sign, but 12 rounds of boxing in, Clapham Junction, literally opposite the station. I was going to ask you whereabouts are we?
Yeah, you can't miss it.
We can't get this one wrong. No, with my new mate, Greg White. Thanks for doing this, mate.
No worries, mate. It's been a pleasure.
So, professional boxing coach.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, I'll give you a sort of a little blanket term, but tell us who you are, mate, and what's your journey of boxing?
As you said, pro boxing coach. Been in the game for 20 odd years now. Started kind of real cliche boxing background as a little fucking, I don't know if you swear.
Cool, say what you like on here, mate.
Little shit when I was younger. Got thrown into a boxing gym and just kind of sorted me out.
Did you? So we spoke briefly off camera before. You look like you're about 25, but you're a bit of an old boy. Tell us how old you are.
39.
39, older than me. We like that. We always like that on here. But you're from Peckham originally, you said.
Yeah, so I grew up in between Peckham and Elephant and Castle, so a place called Wharf Road. I don't know if you know Wharf Road.
Of course, yeah. I did a bit of training back in the day at Lynn. I was there for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So literally thrown stones away from the Lynn.
Right.
Used to be at another boxing gym that's no longer there though. It was called Hollerton Boys Club.
Okay.
It's a football team now.
Bit of a transition there.
But they had both going on at the same time, but they split up, and the funding just went from the boxing. So a lot of the people that went from Holland went to either the Lynn or Fitzroy.
Yeah.
And then I moved around. Started coaching when I was like 19, 20.
Oh, young.
So started with the little kids, and then just kind of worked my way up the ranks. Been lucky enough to have been on some big shows. It's kind of my journey. So
that's a fun one to get. Well, it's a fun one. Sorry, it's a strange one. I meant to say, but if it's fun, it's worth it. Like to get in young like that. What was the thinking on that? Was your boxing career wrapping up?
Yeah. Do you know what? It was more so. I always preferred coaching.
Right.
Like, I like the science behind it. If you know what I mean. Like I've always been a good teacher rather than a practitioner myself.
I got you.
Just lifestyle habits and just like going out and stuff when I was younger. So you never. But now, if I knew the wisdom that I knew now when I was younger, I'd be like, you're ready to take over the world, aren't you? It kind of just led me straight into pro boxing. Well, not even pro boxing, it was amateur boxing at the time. Amateur coaching, recreational coaching. Just worked with a lot of disability groups and stuff like that. It's kind of like they do here. They do like a lot of like outreach programs. So you started with that. Start with the kids when you was younger. It's a bit different now. We used to have youth clubs back in the day. I don't know if they've still got youth clubs.
I think that's a thing in the past, that, isn't it? That's like a phased out thing.
Exactly. So like where I grew up, it was either you boxed or you played football, and you was in the youth club. So it was one or the other for me. Yeah. It's
mad, that, isn't it? Because I tell you what's interesting about that. We're talking 20 years ago now when you get into coaching, like you said, but that's quite new agey, isn't it? That's in terms of being a coach from young. Whereas back in the day, it was like you became a coach because you couldn't fight no more, innit?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly that. So I was about 18, 19, and my coach at the time needed some help with the kids, basically.
Right, okay.
So I was literally doing the 5-year-olds. So I'm not glamorising the coaching.
That's hard, that.
It's not like I went straight into pro coaching. It took me a while. It was, it's far from glamorous at that stage. So it was, kids, worked my way up, and then started to earn a bit of money from it. So I was really okay, there's a market here to...
That's when the ears perk up, isn't it? When someone starts offering you money.
No,
because
exactly.
When you say 5-year-olds, I don't teach kids often, but like with Jiu Jitsu, I've covered classes for kids.
Yeah.
And that's hard work, man. Like 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds.
It's the attention span.
They don't listen. And some of them, the reality is, well, I don't know if it's been your experience too, but they're like, some kids are there because their parents have took them. For sure. So some kids are like, oh, but other kids are kind of like, got no interest.
You see it all the time, but I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you got kids?
I haven't, no.
So I've got a kid, I've got a little girl, and I'm thinking now I'm going to throw her in so much sport, because it's even if she doesn't take to one, she'll find her path, right?
Right.
I'm still, like you said, you do BJJ now. I see so many young girls doing BJJ, which is amazing. Back in the day, 20 years ago, it was literally just full of lads. So
I've said this before to female fighters I've been speaking to on here about when I was boxing when I was 18, 20 or whatever in the boxing club. We had one lady in the club and she was 51 kilos. So her sparring was like a light move around with someone like me or whoever else was about. Do you know what I mean? Whereas nowadays, you know yourself, there's women's only classes as well now. But if you go into any boxing club, jiu-jitsu school, whatever, at least a third of the class is typically women now, isn't it?
100%. Well, do you know what? It's like boxing's always had this like preconceived notion that it's a working class sport and it's only for young men who are rough and tough and but like you've been in the boxing, it's so inclusive.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter what kind of where you're from, walk of life you're from, your background, whatever it is. It's always been inclusive, but it just never was out there. No one kind of knew. It's like, I don't know, if you walk past this gym here, we get so many people that are intimidated just by the stairs. They see a boxing gym going, I'm not going up there. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it breaks down barrier. And now with social media and you guys doing podcasts, it does break it down. Yeah. So I think the next generation are going to be set for sure.
And also, it's like, yourself, like if you go into a club, for anyone who doesn't know, you have to be carded up, you have to go through the whole process. Yeah. The vast majority of people that go in a boxing club never even get carded, let alone end up boxing, let alone go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? It's such it's a small percentage that ever do anything with it. So when you come in a club like this, which is, I don't know what the setup is exactly, we'll get into that in a minute. It's more, because I've trained here, I've sparred here back in the day with some guys and stuff, but it's a bit more, I don't know if it's a white collar place, but it's like a fun, friendly place, isn't it? What's going on here?
So it always has been, so it's been around for about 10 years, I believe, 10, 11 years, and it was set up as a recreational white collar, like big on white collar here, and then they've had pro boxers, pro coaches who train their pros out of here, and then just of recent late, they've just adopted an amateur club that was just
have they? Okay.
Facilities, yeah. So it's called Rathbone Amateur Boxing Club.
Was that somewhere else before? Was that?
It was in Central.
Right, I was going to say, because I know the name.
So one of the ladies, the girl that walked through a minute ago, so she's running it.
What's her name? Give her a shout out.
Rachel Bauer, so she's an England boxing coach.
Okay. That's a better introduction. The girl that walked past earlier was a bit snide, wasn't it?
So I think she won the Nationals in 2015, so she's like high up on the England kind of boxing setup now. So she runs an amateur boxing club here. But as you said, I think a lot of people kind of don't understand the word amateur, what it means. Amateur doesn't mean, I do it for recreational. You've got recreational boxing where I'm never going to fight, I'm just going to hit the bags, maybe do some sparring. Amateur boxing, you need to be carded.
It's very serious as well, amateur boxing. Yeah, I don't, like you said with the name, it's not, I think a lot of people, amateur boxing is a hard game.
Man. 100%. It's up to Olympic level, right? Yeah. So a lot of people will look at Olympic boxing and think it's professional boxing. It's not. That's amateur boxing still.
Even though it's a grey area because they are kind of pros. They're full-time.
Exactly. And then obviously the transition from amateur boxing to pro boxing is the paid ranks. I always call it the hurt game, right? So it's getting paid to win in any means fashion.
And they're closer now as well, aren't they? Because of the scoring system in amateur boxing.
For sure.
Amateur boxing scored like a pro fight now. Other than gloves and vests. And a number of rounds, when you turn pro, a lot of guys have their first fight as 4 rounders. It's 3 rounds in the Olympics, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's pretty close.
Yeah, for sure. And that one bit. So I boxed in America for a while, and the big thing for me was in the UK it was always split. Like amateurs and pros never trained together. No. And I think why America kind of excelled for so many years is when you go to America, it's all in one house. Right. So the amateurs are designed for the pros, if that makes sense. So you basically, your end goal is to turn pro and be pro. Right. Here, I know people who just want to stay on the amateur journey and just box as an amateur until they're 35. Yeah. You know what I mean? But out there, it's very different. The trajectory of your boxing kind of career is to be a pro boxer. Right. And that's why I think they were so developed. So their amateurs were just so much better than us.
But that's fell off now, isn't it? I don't remember the last time America had a gold medalist.
No,
we'll come to that. Exactly. The other thing I wanted to bring up with you, and we talk about your boxing career because we jump around, which is what we do on this podcast anyway. Some people talk about flat earth, mate, so we go anyway. If you've got an opinion on whether it's round or whether it's flat, maybe we'll come to it. But white collar's a bigger thing now as well, isn't it? Because back in the day when I was, starting amateur boxing, white collar was like, not to sort of like mug it off, but white collar was like, it's a white collar boxer. Whereas now it's a bit of a different sort of thing, innit? Like Fabio Wardley comes to mind. He'd come 100%. From the white collar scene. Like for me, like when I saw him box and I heard he'd come from white collar, I was talking to my mate who just had a white collar bout, and I basically said to him, mate, I've never even seen a white collar boxer that could defend himself against a real fighter. How the fuck's he doing this sort of thing, But it's different now, isn't it?
Yeah, so talking about kind of Fabio Wardley, I had a boxer who had 2 white collar fights and then turned pro and went on to go and win the Southern Area title, and that was his world title shot.
Who's this?
Ben Day.
Ben Day, okay.
So I don't
Shout out Big Ben.
Yeah, Big Ben Day. He's got a gym in Houston called Ringtone Boxing Gym. Okay. But yeah, he had 2 white collar fights, looked amazing in those white collar fights. Back then, he spoke to the board and said, I want a license. He was down at Rooney's, which was in London.
It's gone now, right? I think Rooney's.
Rooney's is gone, and he turned pro, and then he won his first 10 fights to Southern Area title and
Jesus Christ.
won his Southern Area title fight with first round knockout.
What weight are we talking at?
He was super lightweight.
Okay. Also, because the reason I say it is because like Fabio Woodley's a heavyweight. Heavyweights we know is in the amateurs that can be a thing. Like I was around when Anthony Joshua was in the amateurs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Joe Joyce was a club mate.
Yeah.
And like you see some of their opponents that are like they just don't want to lose weight. They're blokes that look like they come off a building site. Yeah. Not all of them, obviously. Like you've got you Joshuas of the world, but like they're quite rare. So you can get to the top stage in heavyweights, and it makes a bit more sense for someone like Fabio Woodley on paper, anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas like if someone's doing it at super lightweight, it's serious, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It is, yeah, and I think it's kind of a credit to kind of the people that do take it serious, right? Yeah. It's he started when he was 32 as well, so it's not like he was.
He's a complete outlier.
Yeah. So it just proves that, but like,
have to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll give you his number.
Shout out Ben.
It just proves that this one size fits all isn't everything, right?
No.
You know what I mean? Like people, you don't always have to go. I mean, it's ideal if you do start young because you absorb it, but it's never too late to start boxing. It's never too late to have an amateur bout if you want to turn pro. If they allow you to turn pro because of your skill set.
That's it. Well, it's funny you say that. Like a lot of people, I've had the conversation on it before, and I feel like it's not necessarily like. Of course, you've got to be tough anyway. That goes without saying. You can box, right? But it's not so much that you have to start boxing so young. Yeah. I just think you have to be athletic. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a background. Do you know what I mean? You can't just come off the sofa at 32. No, definitely not. It's over, innit?
Definitely not.
But at the same time, I'm sure you know people as well that started boxing when they were 6. By the time they're 18, they've had enough, man. So like they've been too soon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you've also got like miles on the clock.
That's it, yeah.
Right? If you've started when you're 6 years old and you box all the way through to like 26 and you're competitive, like you look at someone like Lomachenko who's had 300 amateur bouts and stuff like that.
400, I think.
Or whatever it was, yeah. Like you knew as soon as he stepped into the pro, I think he had a world title fight on his second.
He did, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy, right? It's to think about that. If to the untrained eye, you're thinking this guy's having his second pro fight, but you don't realise probably half of his amateur bouts are like Olympic standard boxing. So it's like, I would probably say it's tougher than your first 15 fights as a pro.
Of course it is, yeah. That's like we were saying earlier, when people say amateur boxing, they don't realise what they're saying.
For sure, yeah.
But if you go to like, Lomachenko is obviously a great example, but there's a million examples. Like Usyk, I think Usyk had 350 amateur bouts, only lost 15, which is nuts. And these people coming through now that have had, like you said, was it 2 white collar bouts and turning pro? The advantage someone who's had such an amateur background, it's insane, isn't it?
Of course it is.
It's completely. But at the same time, maybe you hear a lot with the GB team that people stay in the system too long, don't you? Like, sorry, not Fabio Wood, he's opponent, Fraser Clark.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he was 3 Olympic cycles because he was behind Joshua, then he's behind Joyce.
You can even say probably Joe Joyce as well. You know what I mean? He's probably stayed in.
But Joyce started late. I don't think Joyce had his first amateur bout till he was 24.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, which is, I think he's 39 now.
Yeah.
So he's had 15 years as a career. Now I know from 24 to 39 is not the same as going from, say, 15 to 30 necessarily. But again, heavyweight's a bit different. But there's pros and cons, I think, isn't there? Because Joe Joyce, obviously, I can't speak for him. I'm just saying, like, as a 24-year-old getting into boxing, he got into boxing because he wanted to get into boxing, didn't he? He didn't get dragged to the boxing club as an 8-year-old by his dad.
No.
And do you know what I'm saying?
No, for sure. And I mean, there's plenty of examples. I think Deontay Wilder is one of them as well.
Yep.
I mean, I think he was 20 when he joined, or at 19 or whatever he was.
Something
old, but then 16 months later, he's boxing in the Olympics.
It's funny,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, Joshua was late as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Joshua was like
exactly. So going back to the point, it's never too late to start. It's never too early to start. It's never too late to start.
That's it. And it's highly individualised, like we've said, isn't it? But let's go back a little bit, mate, before we go in, because I feel like we can jump around to a lot of things, which I want to. But like, tell us about your boxing career yourself. Like, when did you start, and how did you end up? How many bouts, all that kind of stuff.
So started. When I was around, I walked into a boxing gym when I was around 7 or 8,
really? Too young to box?
Too young to box, but I was in and out. I was playing football at the time, so as I said, you only had boxing or football, so it depends what day I wanted to go. I'd go boxing or
was this the same club? This club had 2, you said? Right,
yeah. So I'd go boxing or I'd go to football, and then didn't really take it seriously till probably I was around 11, 12, and that's when I got in trouble with the police.
Okay.
Product of the environment. I don't like to say it, but I grew up on the estate. You just get up to some skullduggery, you know what I mean? And then I had to take my boxing a little bit more serious. So went through, went all the way through to about 17, 18, and I went to America to do a bit of boxing. which was fun, which changed my whole perspective, especially on my coaching side as well. So I got to see kind of, I think that amateur boxing here was always blah, 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 in and out, blah, 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 in and out, where you were allowed to be a little bit more stylistic with your flair and stuff out in America. So it kind of really molded my boxing, the way that I teach and the way that I box as well. So yeah, went through, and then I kind of stopped boxing because I got a head injury. Wasn't through boxing. Was out in Ibiza with some friends, slipped over and hit my head. Another story.
And
that stopped me boxing because I kept waking up with something called sleep paralysis. I don't know if you know it.
Heard it,
And that just stopped me boxing because it was just, it just wasn't fun. I knew my reactions weren't there. I kept waking, like every time I was doing something, it was just a little bit slow.
Really? And sorry, just to cut in there, like when you went to America, what was the thinking then? You wanted to be a boxer? You're not going out there for coaching?
No, do you know what? I went out, so I had family in Canada, so I went out there on a couple of weeks just to see family, and my granddad, who was in Canada, just basically gave me the keys to his car, and I was like, I'm going to drive down to Seattle because it's on the border. So I went down to Seattle, and I was in Seattle for a couple of days, and I was like, I'm just going to check out what local boxing gyms there are.
Oh, right, okay.
Like. So I went into a boxing gym, and it just blew my mind, just the way that they trained, and it was like kids, amateurs, pros, women, everything was all under one roof. And I loved the vibe there, and I ended up staying out there for about 18 months in total.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
okay.
But not in Seattle, but I went down the West Coast, so I ended up in San Fran. Was lucky enough to go to the wild card and do a little bit in the wild card as well in LA. And from there, it kind of cemented that I wanted to be a coach more so than a fighter, because it was kind of like the moment of crystallization was I understood what I needed to do to mold someone into a better shape of what I was.
Right. How good was you as a boxer? Could you have been a pro?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think everyone's aspirations is too. Like my style was definitely suited to the pros. Let's say that even as an amateur, I was definitely suited to the pros.
Did you box as a senior, or did you stop before that? You did, so you know what it's like. You felt the game. What weight was you boxing at the time?
I was at middle.
Big enough boys that if they crack you, you know about
for sure.
it. Like,
And I just kind of I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty detail of coaching. So I got back. I was lucky enough. I was back into kind of training recreational people for a while, and then I met my old business partner, and we set up a gym, which we spoke about, Rathbone Boxing Club, in the concept was like 2015. It didn't come into fruition about 4 years later, 2018, 2019, and we teamed up with Adam Booth. So I ended up being kind of a student of Adam Booth, so we did a lot of work with him, and his style kind of molded me as well. It was back and forth between the gym and his gym in Red Hill. So a lot of my coaching come from his style as well. And then I got my pro license in 2015. That's when I was training Ben Day. And then I didn't really take it seriously until I got my own gym. And then noticed that loads of people kind of come to you rather than you going out to reach them.
Right.
So I had one boxer who came to me as 7, 8 amateur fights, wanted to turn pro.
Early doors, man. Fucking hell.
Early doors, yeah, but he was 28 at the time.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So it's now, he's got,
Okay. Yeah, and I think he just wanted to get into the pro ranks. So I had him, and then 2 Swedish lads who national champions, over like 200 amateur fights each. It's crazy, they're twins, and they're both now, one's 13-0 and one's 4-0 as a pro. And they're only 26, 27. But as you said, it's just the way they're schooled in the amateurs. It's just, when you've had 180 fights, it's
they're almost level. Coaching you at that point.
Fuck me. Exactly, it's one of those things. So I brought one of them over. He had his debut here on a Lee Eaton show a couple of years back. Got a first round stoppage. And then I was lucky enough to go, I don't know if you know who Sahir Al-Qatani is?
Yes, yeah.
So Sahir I think he boxed at Elsword or maybe Fitzroy for a bit as well.
Yeah, I know the guy, I don't know him personally, but I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah, so ended up, he managed to take a fight, I don't know how it come about, but he took a fight on one championship.
Okay.
last year in Qatar. It was another experience. I trained him, took him out for that.
This is a boxing match on one championship.
Yeah,
I didn't realise they did.
It was their first ever one.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they've done any since, but it was their first one. But it was weird to say the least, because obviously we've gone out there thinking it's a boxing fight, right? But they've got their own set of rules.
Did they have the proper gloves on? Because that's what, with Muay Thai they wear the MMA gloves.
No, so they had their gloves. One championship was 10-ounce gloves. But we had a rules meeting. So we arrived a week before. We had a rules meeting, and there was like, okay, this is the rules. So it's hydration, piss test every day. And when you know boxing, we know how we're trying to cut. We know we take weight. So I'm looked at him and I'm like, fuck, he's like 6 kilos over.
I was gonna say, for anyone just briefly watching that doesn't know what we're talking about, if you box at say 75 kilos middleweight like you, a little bit different in the amateurs, but as a pro, if you're boxing at say 70 as a light middleweight,
you're walking around.
You're there for about 10 minutes. You're spitting in a cup to get the last little bit off the whole deal.
So we had the rules meeting, and it was like, all right, so every morning you've got to have a hydration test and a check weigh-in. So we're like looking at each other and fucking hell, like we've done all the hard work, and this was just a week of cutting. So it wasn't ideal, because basically we had to train twice a day, every day. Even the morning of the fight, we needed to drop his weight, or the morning of his weigh-in, sorry, we had to drop his weight. So it just wasn't like the sweatsuits and the stuff that, just to get as much water as possible. But it wasn't ideal, but that was a new experience. As a coach, I've never experienced that before. And then...
and how'd the fight go?
So he lost. A very close fight, very close fight. It was very biased, to say the least, because he was fighting someone that's won the one championship.
Well, I've been at a one championship event, and there was Muay Thai fights and MMA fights and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I was just a spectator. I had nothing to do with it. But like, I don't think they're doing a lot of drug testing over there, are they?
No.
There ain't a lot of drug testing coming on. There's some guys going on. I mean, I guess you could call them men, but they look like they just come from a different planet.
Oh, 100%. And like, to be fair to them, they put us up. They splash the cash and bring us out there and do all that. So I can't complain on that side of things. Like,
because one thing that people have complained about with one is that they pay late and all that business. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble or anything. Is that anything?
So obviously they would have paid the boxer, and then I got paid from the boxer. So I got my money from the boxer.
So as far as you know, it was all smooth sailing.
I think so. Yeah, I haven't spoken to him about it, but but they were fighting in Qatar, and he was the first Saudi professional boxer.
Right.
And he won a WBC Asian Middle Age or whatever. There's so many versions of it.
There's
now,
so many.
So he was highly kind of touted out there. Like, people a lot liked him because he was from that region.
That's the game, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And he boxed on AJ Ruiz undercard.
The second one.
Second one, yeah. So I was lucky enough to do that, and then we also had a few years later, from kind of when we opened up the gym, we got approached by the BBC to do a documentary, sort of 5-part series with Idris Elba. So I was lucky enough to do that with him as well. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a journey.
That's cool, isn't it? And what's the series with Idris Elba? Take us through that.
So it's a 5-part kind of docu-series. We don't take, but basically there was 8 selected kind of young adults who had all kind of problems going on in their life. So
not fighters.
Not fighters. None of them had fought before. They were all kind of from all different backgrounds, all across the UK. So like one from Wales who was dealing with like weight loss issues and stuff like that. One who got sentenced and accused for stabbing his best mate and found out it wasn't him, and it kind of institutionalized him a little bit. Others who were just in and out of prison, and it was to basically take an everyday kind of what happens to every person in kind of parts of the UK, bring them together. They do 6 to 8 months of training. This was during COVID as well. So
6 to 8 months. So serious amount of training.
Yeah.
Like
so it wasn't like a white collar
that's what I'm getting.
Program. No, it was supposed to be 6 months, but we extended it to about 9 months because of COVID as well. So our show that was supposed to happen at York Hall had to get moved because of regulations for people in the building. So they ended up having 9 months of training, where from zero, doing nothing, to getting them carded as an amateur boxer, to then having a bout against the army. So yeah, it wasn't easy.
No, right.
But it was challenging from 2 kind of perspectives. It was challenging because obviously you're working with complete novices, right? Normally, it is like if you go to an amateur gym, you're probably not having a fight until a year and a half, right? You do your training. It's very rare that you go and get carded and have a fight within 6 months. And the second one was, it was on camera. So a lot of it was played up to, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people that signed up for the show, I think how they reached out is they reached out to kind of like local probation officers and said, look, we're putting a show on, blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of them found out that they're going to be on TV, so they were playing up to the TV.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, there was like, I would probably say there was only half of them that actually wanted to have a fight, the other half just wanted to be on TV.
Did it dawn on some of them? We won't mention names, obviously, where it's oh shit, because we know that feeling, and we'll come on to that later, feeling when you're in the change room and you start going, yeah, all right.
Do you know what? You notice it from the first spar. Yeah. Honestly, you know if someone's heart's in it or not. You know what I mean? And yeah, there was a few of them who did really well, and a few others who just kind of played the system and injured.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Knee hurts, back hurts.
Yeah. And I always said, like, I spoke to the promotional team after, it's like, would you do anything different? I was like, yeah, the coaching team should be in charge of who they select as candidates. Right. Because they're just, the production team are picking people that look good for TV, where it doesn't always correspond to if they can box. And I mean, like there's a few kind of set criteria that people should match if they are going to be an amateur boxer, you know what I mean? Or have a fight.
Amateur boxing, definitely. Not that we're shitting on white collar, but white collar different. Amateur boxing,
for sure.
You're getting carded up and you get put out.
For sure. Thing. Like white collar, it is what it is, right? I've been involved in a white collar show where I've seen two 65-year-olds fight each other.
Have you?
Yeah. So
dangerous that.
Yeah, but to be fair, like they took it completely serious. They changed their diet. For them, that's their world title fight.
Of course, yeah.
You know
absolutely,
what I mean? It's like okay, they're not going to amount to amateur boxing or pro boxing or whatever, but at least they can say, like, I've jumped in the ring, got through the ropes, I've had a white collar fight with someone, and like I'm not for or against it. Like people always ask me, what do you think of influencer boxing and stuff like that, and I think it's got its lane.
It has got its lane.
If you're asking me, should Jake Paul fight Canelo? No, it's fucking stupid. You know what I mean?
We're talking about fighting AJ.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like Tommy Fury dealt with both him and KSI, right? Yeah. So it's one of those things like.
Well, it's getting a bit silly. Where I find it a bit silly, and not that I'm knocking him, but David Haye, he was on an interview once, and like that. Listen, David Haye at one time was undisputed cruiserweight champion,
unbelievable,
heavyweight, like an elite, fucking like savage of a fighter. And he's on camera at one point, and he's talking about KSI, and he's going, "Oh, KSI tonight looked like a serious fighter." And you know when you go, David, how much do you need a pound note, mate? Like, fuck me. KSI looks like he couldn't beat a 16-year-old amateur, and you're giving it that, and it's like, you know. But anyway, sorry, 100%. Mate. Before I have a rant, you carry on. Save me.
I'm in the same boat as you, mate. To be honest, I think like I'm actually training someone for the next Misfits fight.
Oh yeah, okay. Can you talk about it, or is it?
Yeah. It's just out there. So it's Curtis Pritchard, who just come off of Love Island. He was on Strictly as well. So he took a fight on very short notice to fight in this. It's like WWF, it's Survivor tag thing. But
see, that's where I draw the line. That's where I'm like, I'm out.
And you know what? I was always in the box of I'm never going to touch influencer boxing. However, I wouldn't say my perspective has changed. I would like if he came to me and was like, oh, I'm fighting Canelo, can you train me? No. Like, I'm not, that's a death wish. But if he's fighting 3 other influencers, it's a white collar fight. Right?
I'm with you. Yeah. If it's fair fight, I've got no problem with it at all.
And there's people making money from it. Right?
That's it. But I think it's only a matter of time. Like, I know Jake Paul's brilliant at what he does and whatever, but he's talking about a fight. That's never going to happen. He's never going to fight AJ, obviously, right? But it's only a matter of time before someone does get hurt with this shit.
100%,
like, because 100%. You can't. Like, I think people think it's a joke. People, go to an amateur boxing club and just watch sparring. See how serious it is.
The thing is, it's like they're fighting in pro rules. Right? Yep. So they're fighting in 10-ounce gloves with under. Like they train hard for it, right? So they can I'm not knocking Jake Paul because he's probably been doing it for 5-6 years now.
And he can fight to a level.
In 5 or 6 years, if someone's consistent with training, they're only going to get better.
Of course. Especially when, let's be honest, he's like hundreds of millions in the bank, and he can train with the best trainers, the best recovery. He ain't got to get up and go work on a Monday morning.
So his level of boxing, I would say, is decent. I wouldn't say it's world class. He's not a world class fighter, but he's a decent level He knows how to hold himself in the ring. He can punch. He's got power.
And again, going back to drug testing, he ain't getting tested, is
No,
he? And if
exactly.
he is, he's got ways to get around
Exactly. So Curtis is fighting. He was supposed to fight last weekend, but the show got moved to 16th of May, which is great because it only gave us literally 3.5 weeks to work with him.
That's good.
And he's had one white collar fight before, and he took that fight on with 4 weeks' notice, and that was like 5 years ago. So his boxing journey was like 7 weeks in total.
Good. So he's a complete lunatic.
Yeah. And so now we've got an extra 5 weeks, which is good. And he's, because he comes from a dancing background, he's actually...
He can move.
He's obviously fundamentally still loads of things to work on, but he definitely can move. He can take a shot as well. He's a big lad. He's 100 kilos.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah. So he's in a heavyweight tournament. So, but yeah, as I said, I never really wanted to touch it, but I've been asked to do a favour. And
I think it's got a place. I think it's got a place. Where I don't like it is like, you Jake Paul shouting out AJ. It's like,
for sure.
Like if anyone's a Jake Paul like fan and doesn't understand the game, like the thought of him getting in the ring with AJ is so.
It's ridiculous. It's stupid, right?
Yeah, no. And not just that, he's going to get... There's no possible way if AJ took that seriously, get out of the first round. No possible way.
Well, I think we're in a era of crossover sports. Like we've seen McGregor, Mayweather, we've seen Ngannou, Fury, Joshua.
Yep.
And I think it's only going to happen more because I think it is sports entertainment, right?
But I'd quite like it. I think long term, I think it'd have more of a pull. If you did it like once a year as like a mad event,
and
like
have
once a year, not they've only got to fight once a year. They fight each other, the misfit guys, all the time as much as they want. But once a year, you might have like a bit of a freak show, whatever you want to call it, where you have someone like and Jake Paul's a bit different because he is going down a bit more of a road. Whereas someone like KSI who can't fight for shit. No, I'm saying that on camera. He's come at me, KSI. Where are you at? But it's but he's like someone like that. Yeah. Like once a year, he fought Tommy Fury, in fairness, but Tommy Fury's limited, right?
Of course.
But he's a real boxer for what he is.
He's a real boxer, but everyone who knows boxing knows Tommy Fury isn't a world level operator.
No, he's just a boxer at a certain level.
Yeah,
and it is what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that because, like you said before, I forget his name, who was a white collar boxer and went and won the Southern Area. Ben Day. Yeah. Like, for someone to get to Southern Area level, like if you watch the Southern Area, if you've never boxed before and you watch a Southern Area champion or
it's a 10-round
fight. Watch him spar, you go, this guy's the best guy that's ever fucking fought. Do you know what I mean? The level's insane. So it's not a knock. It's just there are levels to the game.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
There's levels there for a reason.
Of course there are.
In any sport.
Yeah. But the problem is with boxing, like if you're football and you play in the FA Cup and you play for fucking Tooting and Mitcham, and you get drawn against Chelsea in the third round, you get beat 10-0. That's fine, right?
This
well,
is the
you can't
game.
do that. It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean that's why there's the levels, right? Is because you should never have a world operator fighting someone who's
absolutely not
amateur, white collar, or influencer.
No, no, of course not. You can't because it's not just what happens there. Yeah, he's got to live with that after.
And I don't know, like I don't want to blame people, but I do blame a few of the pros at the tops. Like they shouldn't be entertaining it. Like Floyd Mayweather fighting Deji and Aaron from Geordie Shore, and like I understand his motive. He's basically said I've retired from boxing, but I haven't retired from making money. Yeah, and he doesn't see it as boxing, right? Because he's not going to get knocked out. He's too. Do you know what I mean? This is one of the best pound for pound boxers of all time, fighting someone that plays computer games.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
And can't fight at all.
Yeah.
Edgy. The only time I've ever seen him box, in fairness, is against Mayweather, and they in a thing they showed a few clips of him. Can't fight. Cannot fight. Do you know what I mean? So Mayweather's getting in there, but the problem I've got with that is like I don't mind the exhibition side of it. I dislike it more when it's like when he's going against John Gotti's grandson. Yeah. And like there's real needle, and it's like, bro, you're mugging yourself off from what you were. Sure. You were at one point an elite fighter, like in the conversation for one of the greatest fighters to ever live. 100%. And like now you're boxing Deji.
It does tarnish your name a little bit.
That's what I mean. I feel like how much do you need a pound note? Like I said about David Hay, like how much do you need to sort of whore yourself out?
But I guess it has happened. It has happened throughout the whole years. You remember like Muhammad Ali fighting
Aoki,
and someone fought Hulk Hogan. Who was it? Not Mike Tyson. Was it Mike Tyson?
Not sure.
I think it was Mike Tyson.
Fought Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, so I think it's always happened.
I know Rocky did.
Yeah. I think it's always happened, and I just think it's now it's like it happened because it was a freak show.
Yeah.
Now it's happening
But
as a sport. That's the hardest thing,
but
right?
I feel like back in the day, people knew what it was. Whereas nowadays, you've got these kids with the fucking headsets, and they're like, "Oh, Deji's gonna do Mayweather," and and it's like the man shouldn't even be in the ring with him.
No,
do you know
for
what I mean?
sure. And like you've got disciplines for a certain reason, right? Even like when I don't know what your kind of feeling was there, but when like even like in two competitive sports, UFC and boxing, when Mayweather fought McGregor, like. Everyone in the boxing industry knew like it wasn't going to be a fair fight, right? No. But you had Conor McGregor fans who was like, okay, he's knocked out Aldo. I was like, okay, you've always got a puncher's chance, but
not really.
Not really.
Do you know what I mean? It's not really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, but he knocked out Aldo, but that's great. But whether he kicked or not, there's the threat of the kick, there's the threat of the take. It's a completely different thing. Floyd ain't got to worry about it.
And you don't just rush in like that in boxing, right? You know
exactly. And there's nothing else to worry about other than that. And Mayweather's like,
Listen,
the thing is with that one specifically, I like that, and I don't mind it because it's a little bit like what I said. It's like a once in a lifetime.
Yeah,
it was at the time.
It's two generational kind of great.
Like Ngannou versus Fury. I think Ngannou beat him as well, which we'll come to. But like,
I think Fury didn't do. I think boxing lost that night.
Of course he did, because Fury...
He didn't take it seriously.
No, he was supposed to be fighting Usyk sooner than he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He looked at that as like a glorified sparring session, get paid fuckloads of money, just show up and I'll box this guy's head off who don't know how to fight, and then it's in front of you, and it's different, isn't it? Like, but obviously after that he fought AJ, and it looked
that's what it was supposed to be.
You would have thought it looked like, right? Exactly, but... And people say style. I don't think it's style. I think it's like you said, Fury just got out of bed, scratched his nuts and got in there, didn't
100%. Like if that was Fury who fought Wilder or Fury who fought Usyk, it's a completely different.
Well, I think we'll jump around, but I like it's relevant where Fury fought Wilder. Like them fights take it out of you, and I'm a believer. I'll jump ahead a little bit, but like with when he lost to Usyk, Usyk's a great fighter. Yeah. I personally think, and I don't know what your opinion is, that in his prime, the guy that fought Wilder, them last two times especially, would have probably beat Usyk. I believe he could have beat him. I think he's slowly on a decline since them fights.
I think, yeah, for sure. I mean, amazing fighter, but what he's done to his body...
Can't do that forever,
you can't do it
because once you get into your late 30s, mid-30s, whatever he is,
of course it does. And you can have all the talent in the world, but you can't do it once your reaction's gone and stuff like that. But to be fair, even the second fight, I thought both of them looked a little bit...
Did you? Yeah.
Slow. I think they're both kind of on. I think Usyk knows he's only got a couple more, but I think the difference is Usyk can manage it better.
Well, Usyk's actually older, isn't he? Than Fury. Yeah. But he's like obviously lives a different life, doesn't he? You know. I
think Usyk's got one or two more fights before he retires.
I do. Yeah, if that, because like if you look at Usyk, people say about his size and he's small. The man's 6'3", and I think he weighed in 104 kilos. You're big. How big do you need to be at the end of the day?
The thing is, 6'3" was what was Muhammad Ali 6'3",
and he wasn't that heavy.
Foreman was 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, exactly. You don't but at a certain point, I think you're big enough.
Yeah.
You're overdoing it after that.
100%.
You know, if you're not naturally that big, like Fury, AJ, they're different because they're naturally meant to be that big.
For sure.
Whereas like Usyk coming in at 120 kilos wouldn't do him no favours.
No.
104 kilo man is fucking big enough to hurt anyone.
100%.
If you see him in front of you, I've seen him across a room once. Like, he's a big guy.
Massive,
you know what I mean? Like David Haye. Have you ever seen David Haye?
Yeah, he's massive.
Massive guys.
Chisora, massive. They're all massive.
Guys,
yeah, they're lumps.
Yeah, proper lumps as well. And like, if you ever see like Johnny Nelson's another one that come to mind. I saw Johnny Nelson once.
Big, yeah.
Like fucking.
He could have fought heavyweight. You know what I mean? He's fucking that size.
Absolutely. I tell you, we talk about people's size. We're getting a bit weird here, aren't we? But like, the two that I've been around that really shocked me for their size, for the weight they fought, it was James DeGale and George Groves.
Yeah.
Like, George Groves is like a fucking gorilla, mate. If you ever see George Groves in person now, and you didn't know what weight, and you go, that guy was world champion boxer, my mind would definitely go cruiser.
Yeah.
Like, he's enormous.
He's massive.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, obviously, to get to 70, was it 76.1 or something? Like, to get to that, I don't know what he was doing, but Jesus Christ, that kind of been fun.
Well, that's the thing. It's like a lot of people go, they look at you and they go, oh, you must be a heavyweight. You're like, nah, it's like...
No idea.
Yeah.
A real heavyweight.
Like, how do people actually get down to that weight when you look at them, right? So I'll give to my Swedish judge that I find, he's 6'3", and he fights at welter.
Fuck's sake, which is 67.
Yeah, and he can actually, if it was a championship fight, he can get down to super light.
Mate, Jesus Christ. Was he walk around at? Or
he walks around at 71, 72.
Oh, right, okay, so he's lean.
He's lean, but he's
slim.
But he's big. Like, when you look at him, he doesn't look, he's like a Hamza Shiraz.
Yeah, all right. Do you know who Conor Marsden is?
Yeah.
Shout out Conor, old club mate of mine, he's been on the podcast. He's every bit of 6'2", you know what I mean? Yeah. And like fought at lightweight, I think.
Yeah, and it's the size difference and the advantage that you get from cutting weight and
but you got to be careful, right? Because it's a fine line, isn't it?
Of course.
Because again, going back to Conor, I think maybe some of the times when he went down in fights and got hurt, and I can't speak for him, Conor, whatever, you know, you have your own opinion. But I look at him and I go, you could have been 2 weight divisions up and been more comfortable in your body.
That's the only edge that I'm going to be giving in the big fight coming up to Conor Benn is that Eubank, every other scale, every other metric, Eubank wins.
Yep.
Experience. I think he's a better fighter, talent and stuff like that. The only metric that I think Conor could win him with is if he's weight trained and comes down and loses his power.
That's it, 100%. And
that's the only way that Conor Benn can win for me.
Well, there's 2 things, and I've spoken about this on here, so I'm a broken record, sorry, but it's like, if you cut too much weight or if you overtrain, I personally think that's worse than being smaller or not training enough.
For sure.
Because at 100%. Least you're fresh and you're full of energy and whatever. You know what I mean? You can be blown out your ass. You can figure out a way to get through that, can't you?
Yeah.
Versus if you're flat and like you're like...
Mate,
it's hard.
There's nothing worse.
No, there's nothing worse. It's the worst fucking feeling in the world. But we might as well get onto the fight now, won't we? This will come out after. But Conor Benn versus Eubank. So we'll see how well this ages.
They're both wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But it's maybe we go opposites.
I've got a funny feeling that Eubank's going to miss weight on purpose.
Do you? Okay. See, here's what I think. I think he'll make weight, but I think the rehydration thing he'll fuck off and just pay the fine.
Yeah, so either that
Do you know what I mean?
Or he's going to come in a kilo heavier.
Because I've never met Eubank in person, right? But like if you look at, I've met his dad and I've met Nigel Benn in person, and their size, I know it doesn't work that way from pictures and whatever. Like the size difference I think is enormous. We've had Troy Williamson. I don't know if Troy Williams, he's been on the podcast. Shout out Troy, hope you're well, mate. He's, for the size he is, for the weight he boxes at, and he said Eubank's a bit bigger than him. Now, from what I've heard, and this didn't come from Troy's mouth, but someone else, I won't mention who it was for what I'm about to say, but he said, but he's got twiglet legs, Eubank. That's fine, that's okay. But he's got a big frame, like he's a big guy. Sure. Whereas Conor Benn, if you see pictures of him, he ain't, is he?
He's not a big guy.
He's not a big guy. He's a powerful guy, and he can play into it.
He's a natural welterweight. Right.
And the age is, people say the age is on his side, but is 36 old nowadays if you look after yourself? Nah. I don't think so.
No, and I favour Eubank in every kind of. He has all, speed. I think he's power. He's still got the power. He hasn't. Like, who's he been in with that he didn't look great against? Right, the first Smith fight didn't look great.
Yep.
I fought against Billy Joe Saunders all those years back. I just think he started too late. I think he come on strong.
Yep.
All right, Groves. I think Groves is just a
far superior
all around. Yep. And then he's been in with the much better boxers. Yep. Who's Conor Benn? Who's his most notable win? Algieri.
Chris Algieri, I was going to say, but he's gone, and he's gone. He's older.
So I think it is a level. Now, another kind of aspect what you've got to look about it is the fact that, I don't remember when Dylan White fought AJ, the fact that they hate each other so much plays into a factor as well. So if Chris can just not get involved with the emotional side of it, I think he just wins easy, to be fair.
See, I'm with you in the fact, I think if Chris Eubank's still all there, I don't think it's much of a fight. I think by 3 or 4 rounds deep, we'll go, oof, this is... The only thing is you touched on it with a Smith fight. He did get done in that fight, and I think that was something to do with the weight, because it was off the back of the first fight, wasn't it? Which is, you know, whatever. But if he can get chinned, then it's obviously, and if the weight's an issue, then it's a whole different ballgame. But I think I'm with you. If he's at his best, I don't think it's much. I think he beats him outside.
It's an entertaining fight for the masses, just because of who their dads were. But I mean, should they actually be in the ring together?
Well, they definitely wouldn't
wasn't
be.
their names.
If there wasn't their names, they definitely wouldn't be, right? As simple as that. There'd
sure.
be no reason, the weight's... But I'm excited. I'm really excited for this one. I've got to be honest.
Excited.
I'm really up for this one.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I do. But I tell you one thing...
Gonna go to it?
If I can get you got tickets?
Nah,
I was going to say, let's go together.
Is that Spurs, right?
It's Spurs,
I hate Spurs.
Yeah, so we'll come on to that. I always ask that at the end, but you started well. Yeah? This is good. This is not a Spurs podcast. Shout out Big Louis Sutherland, you know you are. But like, with the fight itself, and like obviously all the interest around it, there's the dad thing. One's very close to his dad, the other one's dad don't like him, allegedly. I've got different opinions on all of this shit, but like, with the fight itself, before the fight, in the lead up, not the fight itself, the complete opposite. But did you see the Piers Morgan thing? So, firstly, I don't know what Piers was up to. I mean, he couldn't have rode Conor's nuts any harder if he tried, could he? Like, that was weird, but, you know, shout out Piers. If you want to come on, mate, open invitation.
He's boxing at the moment, he's training.
Is he?
He trains down in Box Clever. Do you know Box Clever?
Yeah, where is that? I know that.
Like, somewhere in Kensington High Street.
Okay,
or something like that.
all
So
right.
he's
Box
around
Clever.
there.
I've seen the thing. Yeah, but
There you go. He could be an influencer boxer. You know what I mean?
Well, do you know what? Piers was actually on a flight of mine coming back from Ireland about 6 months ago, something like that. And I did mention it to him. He played the contractual obliged, but Piers, if you change your mind, mate, give us a shout.
Yeah.
Anyway, but aside from that, I felt like the temperament side of things. I feel like Chris Eubank is a bit sharper and a bit smarter and might have an advantage in that sense in terms of emotions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's also just comes from the experience of him being in these big fights before as well, right?
Yeah.
This is like Conor Benn. This is all new to Conor Benn, right? Like he's had the weight on his shoulders of who his dad is, but he's always been looked after.
Yeah.
Like as you said, Algieri passed the hill.
Like, and not a puncher anyway, really.
And not a puncher, yeah. So that was a kind of a safe fight. He's not like he didn't look great in the French kid that he fought.
Yeah, the one he fought twice. Yeah. He went down, didn't he? Didn't he go down twice?
He didn't look great in that, and then against the New York lad that he just fought.
Yeah, no, I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name either, but after the...
But that summed it up. We're both boxing men, right? If you don't remember his name, like, bless him, do you know what I mean? But like, I think Conor Benn's... Dobson, there you go. But with Conor as well, also, it's like if he loses this fight, he just goes back to his weight division and 100%. Carries on. If Eubank loses this, like, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
I think there's more pressure to win for Eubank, for sure.
But also the names too. Like he said, didn't he? Ben's never beat Eubank and he never will. Yeah. Like that winds Conor up, doesn't it?
Well, I think what's going to happen, I think Eubank beats him, and then I think Ben and Harlem Eubank fight.
Do you?
I think that's more interesting fight for me.
Well, Eubank Senior is pushing that, because he's in Harlem's corner. But like I don't know Harlem personally, but I've been around him in a gym. He's small. Like, Like I think
he's not big. Yeah,
he's not a big guy. Like
he's not a big welterweight.
No, he's not at all. Like you look at him, I'd say you should be. I mean, and again, I've been with him like for 2 minutes, close as we are now. But I'd look at him and go, man, you should probably be a super featherweight. You're you're a small guy. Do you know what I mean? Not that I'm a big guy. But he's way smaller than me.
Yeah,
like if you look at other guys, like as I said, I've never met Conor Benn or Eubank, but from people I've been around that have been around, like Chris Eubank, he's a big frame guy, isn't he?
Big frame, yeah. I see Conor all the time. He walks around kind of Mayfair all the time, and he's not big. He's not a big guy at all.
Better get out of Mayfair, don't we? See if we can get Conor on the pod.
He's always down there. Yeah,
is he?
Check it out. Yeah.
What, in the drinking clubs or what?
No, you know, I think it's just. I don't know. You've been down to the gyms down there, right?
Buddha Box.
Yeah. So you just people network, don't they? They just go and have coffee around there. And
I like Buddha Box. Buddha Box is very. What's the word I'm looking for? Like. Trendy, but I can't think of the word. But just like a trendy place, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? There's serious fighters in there, but there's also the geezer in there with a Prada coat. Who likes to, do you know what I mean? Likes to rub up against it.
Right?
Exactly.
You're rubbing. You've got hedge fund guys, but then you also do get the pros in there as
well.
That's it.
But good people in there. It was very good to me. They let me in there for a podcast, so there was great people up there.
Nice. Oh, you did one with Lex.
Lexual Healing on Instagram. Shout out Lex.
He's a great guy.
Lex Igwe, I think I pronounced his name right. If I didn't, mate, shout me out. But interesting cat. Check out that podcast, by the way. But like just wrapping up on the Eubank Ben thing, like, do you think it's genuine that Eubank Senior's not going to be there? He can't miss it, can he?
I don't know. I mean, I would say it's antics and it's just he will be there, but I don't know.
Well, we know that Eubank's walking to the ring second too.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
I wonder, and this will come out after, and I've got no knowledge anyway, this is completely off the top of my head and just like a thing that would be quite cool, is I could see like Conor and Nigel, arms around each other waiting in the ring because they're thick as thieves, aren't they? Father and son, super tight. And they do the whole like simply the best entrance and Senior's with him. I could see that happening, that wouldn't surprise me. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they would have not tried to communicate with each other because I know I know Senior didn't want him to fight, and that's kind of the whole reason why they didn't want him to fight. But the fight's happening.
I was just going to say it's happening now.
They'll make up.
Especially this one. This is the fucking. This is the
one.
Well,
you see, I think he mentioned on the Piers Morgan show that he wanted his dad. Yeah. The invitation's there, so.
He's got to get there, really. Come on, like. That'd be like at Tottenham Hotspur as well, because I've never been there. We both stated that we don't like Tottenham, and we'll state it again just for the fuck of it. But like, apparently they've got the best stadium, and like,
apparently it's nice.
Apparently it's the one. So like, I think there'll be more. We might have to get used to the idea of going to Tottenham for some fights, but yeah, I'm interested in this fight. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm bang on it, and I'm glad it's happening because I know this is to say this to liken it to the influencer thing is completely different. But there is an element of like we said, they wouldn't be fighting unless their names were who they were.
100%.
But this is where it comes in a positive because whatever happens, I think this is going to be a great fight. Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was talking to someone about it the other day. It's like you saw the whole kind of new shape up of how the Saudis want to do the pros and stuff like that, and the UFC style of fighting, right?
Well, Dana's in now, isn't he? Dana's in with old Turkey.
Where the best are fighting the best, or like two's fighting three, blah, blah, blah. But like that doesn't always correspond to the best fights, the big fights, right? Like as you said, Eubank and Ben should never fight each other, but that's going to pull in more money, crowd than a 2 and 3 fighting each other in the WBC somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Especially like you've got to know who they are. Like the same two fighters could be fighting each other in terms of ability.
Yeah.
If you don't know who they are versus you know exactly who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes a huge difference. Then it's like another one, Terence Crawford versus Canelo. That's got no business happening, has it? Other than the Saudi money thrown at it, which is like, to me, I love Terence Crawford. I think he might be pound for pound number one. But
sure, 100%.
There's weight division for a reason, and I go, that could go really wrong, couldn't it? Do you know?
It could go really wrong. But we did say the same about Canelo stepping up.
It's true. It's true.
Until he did get to Bivol. Yeah. But I mean, he took care of Kovalev and
flattened Kovalev.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting. It is, and size doesn't always mean anything.
No, and Crawford's definitely got the skill set.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's going to come. I don't think he would come in and just trade. I think he's very smart.
Yeah, the thing is with that, I think you know for the style and especially Canelo's.
You're not knocking out Canelo.
That's what I mean. He's never been down. I don't think he's took him off Golovkin in his prime, the whole deal, hasn't he?
So it's one of those things.
He's got to be switched on for 12 rounds. Like
he's got to be switched on, and Canelo. Canelo's always going to be stepping forward.
Yeah, he can afford to be behind and walk him down.
Yeah.
Which I just think it's a hard nut. It's a hard nut for both of them, obviously.
I favour Canelo for that, but I wouldn't put it past it if you saw a masterclass. Because Crawford is capable of masterclasses.
And also, Canelo's I think mid-30s, but I think he's 35.
Yeah.
But I think he's been a pro since he was 15. Like, how many fucking punches in the head has he took?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? How does that end?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, we've all seen it a million times. A fighter is great and they just fall off suddenly.
It happens.
It could be
happen overnight.
It could be the night. He made fucking Errol Spence look silly. Not silly, but like completely outclassed him, didn't he?
Yeah, and everyone was like, okay, this is a 50-50.
Yeah, and it weren't even close.
Yeah,
so they're out there. But like with the going forward for you, like coaching fighters and stuff like that, you're a coach till the end now, I take it. You're the guy that wants to be super coach.
So as I said, I've took a back step for the past year because I just had a daughter. So as you know how if you've ever trained pro boxers, it takes a lot of your time.
Strangely sensitive fighters as well.
Like, 100%.
So, like
you end up
what they are.
Listen, it's not like it's not like a client where you see them for an hour. You end up being not only are you the physical trainer, you're their emotional trainer. Yeah. Sometimes you're the bank account, you're the accountant. It's draining and it takes a lot of.
You're definitely on a WhatsApp group with some inappropriate messages that you've got to keep to yourself. For
sure. So sometimes, I took a little back step because I had to spend more time at home. But the baby's 1 now, so.
She's ready to look after herself, is she?
Yeah, she'll be in the gym now, but so, I mean, and the ambition is always to have a world title.
Is that right? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that it will come to you, don't go looking for it.
Yep.
You need a little bit of luck in this game. You need the right fighter just to come in.
You do, mate. I don't know if you know who John Danaher is. He's like the best Jiu Jitsu coach in the world. And he's like one of these guys who was a philosophy student. He's just like a weird guy. He's he lives alone. He doesn't do it. He's like a minimalist, wears a rash guard every day, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said about like he likened himself, and he was talking about like Customato and stuff like that. Like all these great trainers. But like how many truly great fighters do they have? Like truly great, and it's like you can on one hand, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You got to wait for them to come to you, sort of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like look. Pacquiao walked into the wild card. Do you know what I mean? He literally walked into that gym.
Yeah.
David Haye and Adam Booth.
That's it.
It happens. You know what I mean? And sometimes you do need that lucky break. And like sometimes even like Ben Davison just got lucky. I wouldn't say lucky, but
but it is
friends with Tyson Fury.
You've got to be good enough.
Yeah, of course.
You've got to have the talent, or the ability, whatever you call it, for a coach. But
100%.
Luck is there, man.
Luck is there, and like, as I said, some of the best coaches that I know are amateur coaches.
Yeah.
Like,
and
they would never get the recognition because
they're not working with talent. It's a different skill set.
It is,
bring someone that is like, and it doesn't not talent. They've got to have talent, of course, if you're going to make them anything. They've got to have a certain like natural ability. But to bring someone from nothing to something is a, I don't want to say easier because it's not, but it's a very different thing than 100%. Someone comes to you as a world level fighter and you just got to tidy a few things up.
Exactly.
It's a different job
100%.
essentially, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I always say it's like there's not one size fits all of training someone. Like you train a heavyweight completely different to you train a super lightweight.
Right.
So your philosophy, if it's based around smaller fighters, and then suddenly you get a big heavyweight in there, and you're trying to get them to do stuff, and like, okay, it's not going to work. Too much muscle mass, too much limited range of motion. So you have to adapt as a coach as well. You might have your philosophy, but it doesn't work for everyone.
And here's the thing I think with that side of stuff as well is you've got to be. You train what you got in front of you to a degree. Now, I don't say this to knock him, but just as my opinion from way the outside, obviously. If you look at Deontay Wilder training with Malik Scott, I don't think he's doing a great job with him. And the reason I say that is because if you watch their training, and I know they're putting out what they want, but Deontay's career has fell off a cliff as well.
Sure, yeah.
But it's like, he's doing tricky stuff on the pads, slipping and sliding, trying to be technical.
It's not him.
Where it's like, listen, bro, land that right hand. That's plan A, B, C, and D. Don't worry about nothing else.
I know Malik really well. Every time he comes over, he comes to the gym, and I do think he's a really good coach. But I just think, as you said, like he's got his philosophy, and he's not budging from his philosophy, and it doesn't work with him, a Wilder.
Because you've got someone there, and he'll never be appreciated because of how his career is finishing, Wilder. But in his prime, I think
devastating.
For anyone in history, this is such 100%. A huge headache. You know what I mean? He was in the wrong era, right? He fought Tyson Fury. If Tyson Fury doesn't exist, I personally, and people can have their opinions on this, I think a prime Wilder would have beat Usyk because I think he's going to land on him.
And at that time, when Wilder was 40-0 or whatever, and he knocked out everyone before he went for Fury, he was feared. Like people were like, and he had like when he fought Stavern, the way he just literally come across the ring with no fear. Took
ridiculous
the
fight.
Took the
he had his hands down as well.
And just landing shots. He's got phenomenal. The power is just insane, right? For that right hand, and I said probably goes down as one of the biggest punches all time. Sure. But the tail end of his career is now looking like he's.
Well, people now will go, look, he weren't that good. But listen, he weren't. What's good? It's effectiveness. Is everything. Do you know what I mean? Effectiveness is everything.
100%. And I think sometimes you need to know. Like I know. What's he lost now? Parker, Zhang,
Fury.
And that's it, right? He's lost 4 fights.
4 fights.
4 fights.
Maybe 5 if you count the Fury draw, because I think he lost that one.
Yeah, and he hasn't retired yet. And like, okay, who, apart from maybe an AJ fight I think it still sells, but like, what does he really want to achieve anymore? I don't think he's ever going to get back to world title fight level. No. Like, I think it's a young man's sport now. I think the Dubois, the Atomas. It's their time to take over now.
That's one that excites me. The old Moses the Talma. Like I think, even just listening to him speak, like for a kid who's 19, he's so mature. Fucking
for sure, future world champion. Like I'm trying to think of like other talent that's out there. Like I look at like the David Adelai's and the Wardleys, and I don't think they're world level. I don't think they'll ever get to world level. But I think Itoma has that ceiling.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He's got that special something, can he? Do you know what I mean? I think some fighters have just got something about them, and they can just go. He's one of them for sure. Who else was I thinking of just then? Gone out my head. Doesn't matter anyway.
Britt?
Yeah, so Dubois. Sorry, I was thinking of different because he's already there. Yeah. But he's turned the corner is the reason he came.
And he's 26. He's got another 10 years in the game at least.
Yeah, especially at heavyweight. But like the reason he came to mind is because he turned the corner. He fought like my mate Joe Joyce, or my old club mate. I don't know him that well, but like he's. Everyone was saying, he's going to knock Joe out. And I was like, mate, like, Joe will box his head off. And he beat him down, didn't he? But that's a different...
I think with that fight, I think Joe just tactically had it spot on. You know what I mean? Just landed the jab, dipped his head off to right, and just moving away from his power hand. It was such a simple tactic to do. And I think what happened with Dubois is like, there's no crowd. And there was different circumstances. I think it was in COVID. It was a bit weird. Like,
I think he's turned the corner since the Usyk fight now.
Oh, I think it gave him all the confidence because he went in there, obviously expected to get absolutely annihilated by Usyk and put on a really good show. I know he lost it and he had the controversial about the kind of, was it a low blow, was it not? I think it was a low blow. Yeah, I think it was just below the belt.
I think it's a low blow in terms of legality, but it didn't hit him in the nuts.
No, it didn't hit him in the nuts, but it's below the navel.
Right, sorry, are we on a time, are we, mate?
No, we're good. Below the navel. So yeah, I think it was and he had every right to take his 5 minutes, whatever it was.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it wasn't in the nuts. I think he got hit, and I think he went, I'll take my 5 minutes.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I need these 5 minutes.
And that's a smart fighter.
I'd like to see a rematch, because I feel like now with this kind of confidence, like the guy who come out and fought AJ Dubois, and I've said this before, and I don't say it like I'm saying he's stupid, but like in terms of, very simple in terms of like, I'm here to fight, whereas AJ, superstar, like he's guaranteed, like there's 100,000 people here, everyone's watching me, I'm supposed to win.
Well, he's a
like,
brand.
There's a lot going on,
Yeah.
whereas Dubois is just like, I'm going to go and chin this geezer. Do you know what 100%. I mean? Like, I'm oversimplifying
He came out, it was like Mike Tyson, just no fear coming
in. He
in.
fought like him too,
yeah.
style.
100%.
I think he looked brilliant. I think that guy is a fucking headache for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. He's got power in both hands. He's strong, durable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if he gets rid of that kind of like, well, people saying he's quitting. And like, there's levels of quitting, but he did. Like, there's a reality, right? He did take a knee. Yeah, but I think that's, I'm not of the belief of like a, you know, people say once you've swallowed, like, that's it forever. I'm not of that. I think you can train that out yourself. Like, I think people have done it before.
No, 100%. And look, you know your own body, right?
Yeah.
You know the feeling if you've got that your socket's gone. Like, there's a different type of feeling to swelling.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like, like, and
you want to go blind?
You live to fight another day, right?
Yeah.
And which he's done, and he's come on to win a world title, so he's proved everyone right. His career didn't go south when they went north.
It did, yeah, exactly. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's stages of career too. Yeah. Like when, say, I don't know, think of an example off the top of my head, like Kell Brook, when his eye socket went. It's not that he was towards the end of his career, but it's not that he was old necessarily, but he'd achieved it. He'd been a world champion. It's different, isn't it? 100%. Than when you're, Dubois, 24? Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? It's completely, or Joe Joyce younger, he's probably 22, wasn't he? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, by doing that, he's got them 15 years ahead of him, 100%. Versus Kell Brook's already achieved it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I can go out now, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got enough money in the bank.
Yeah.
Don't set out what I've achieved.
It's such a good point to make, is about money in the bank, because like, you know, when people like a fighter loses, like Joe Average in the street, go, just retire. But it's like, what's he going to do? Like, some people ain't in that position. Some people, he doesn't want to go on a building site on Monday, does he?
No,
do you know what I mean?
Sure.
He wants to set up his life forever. So when he's 35, he's done.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that people, like, they don't see it as a job. Like, from the perspective from a fan space, right? They don't see it as a job. They expect you just to retire.
I just think people think also that you've been on TV once, you're a multi-millionaire forever. It don't work that way. It don't work like, there's a lot of relevant fighters that have been on TV, fought for titles, all sorts, that are getting paid like 15 grand for that fight. Yeah, 100%. Like, we can do with that. Like,
listen, you wouldn't mind me saying this, but do you know Ian Napper?
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course I do.
Like, Ian Napper, like, fought for was on Sky Sports fighting for European titles and stuff like that. And then he's just got a regular job now, right? It's like,
what was his name? Was it Rendell Monroe, I think his name was? The boxing bin man.
Yeah,
he was a bin man and world champion at the same time.
It's crazy, right?
Come on.
And like, I mean, that's why you kind of got to give it up to the pioneers in the sport that have now made the money happen. Like, AJ is making everyone richer because of his brand and stuff like that. Prince Nazim did it for the lightweights, to the smaller guys. Yeah, you know what I mean? Back then, no one was interested in that division until he came about. Yeah. And look at Josh Padley the other day. Do you know what I mean?
That's it, isn't it?
He's earned a few bob, and I think he's got another fight on one of the big shows coming up. Well, that's what it is. It's a job. It's like, make money. You want generational wealth so your kids can be looked after. Yeah,
and even a step below that, you want to be able to, like, whenever your boxing career is wrapping up, say 35, you don't want to have to go work after that, right? No, it's the reality. You've worked that hard that now you can go, that's it, I'm retired.
100%.
And I don't think people see that. But anyway, just before we sort of finish up, mate, like, you said Idris Elba, I'm thinking, what's Idris like? Is he a bit of a fighter himself? Because I know he had a Muay Thai fight.
So he had a Muay Thai fight. He's got a bit about him.
Can he fight or not?
He can move.
He can move. I'll tell you the reason I ask, and I won't mention names for what I'm about to say next, but I've trained with a few celebrities in different bits and pieces. Some of them can really fight, and some of them are for the cameras. There's a particular guy, I won't mention it, but he's like giving it the big and the muscles, the whole deal, and then off camera it was like, ooh.
Nah, do you know what? Like, I would say, like, he's a top guy. So from working for him on the show, obviously you realise how busy he is as a person, right? Yeah. So very time sensitive. Right. So it's like one take, boom, do this, do that, and then he's got a car waiting outside. Yeah. He's got to go and do his podcast, and then he's got to go and film Lufar, and then he's got to go and release an album somewhere. I don't know, DJ somewhere. Like, he's such a busy man. So The sessions that we did do together as well, like off camera pad work and stuff like that, he's got hands.
Was he? Yeah.
He's got hands, yeah.
Yeah.
Like whether he's like fighting material, like it depends who he's fighting. Right?
He's also about 50, isn't he? So it's like...
Yeah. But he's got hands, he keeps himself, he looks after himself, he's in good nick.
Yeah, shout Adrian, I know you're busy, mate, but when we're ready, we'll get you on the podcast.
Sure.
But just before we wrap up, mate, like final predictions, Conor, Ben and all that, we've kind of touched it anyway. You go Eubank, you sticking with that?
I'm going to go Eubank within 6.
Within 6, all right, big, emphatic Eubank.
I think he comes out strong. I think he kind of just, I don't think he's taking Ben's power, speed. I think he's just going to walk through it and just, he's going to pull it on him.
Boom.
Make a statement.
Nice. Well, mate, listen, I really appreciate it, mate. Before we finish, I always ask an important question, but by what you said earlier, I think you might give me a good answer. Which football team do you support?
Chelsea fan.
Yes, my guy! Top man, put it there.
We're playing now.
We're right on. Let's get out of here and get to the pub and watch it. I always finish with a fist up like this, mate. Squeeze the neck. Boom! Boom!